What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing yet another beer from the Great Lakes Brewing Company, and they're out of Cleveland, Ohio, and this is their 73 Kölsch. So this is a Kölsch-style beer that comes in at 5.7% alcohol by volume, 20 IBUs at the time of review. I don't know exactly how old this can is, but it does have a best by date of November 7th of 2025. And as I'm reviewing this one right now, about a month away from that date. So according to the brewery, we should be more than good to go. Speaking of the brewery, I want to give a huge thanks and shout out once again to Great Lakes, and more specifically Lily from Great Lakes for this beer. So huge thanks to them. In the description box, I'll post a link to the beer mail unboxing video I did that contains all the goodies they sent my way, and they sent me an awesome beer mail that contained a branded box, and in said box was 6 beers in total, 5 of which were unique, some stickers, and a personalized letter letting me know that they appreciate the thoughtful reviews, and I thought that was so cool. And in that letter, they do specifically mention this beer, which I thought was quite awesome as well. We'll talk about it momentarily. The other thing I want to mention is the other beer I have that I'm not reviewing from them is their Cran Orange Wheat. The reason? Earlier this year in February, I already reviewed that beer, so I'm not going to re-review it. Let me just say that it surprised me in a great way. I'm not a huge fan of like American Pale Wheat Ales. Flavored ones can be hit or miss. That was awesome. It was cranberry, it was orange, and it was just a very delicious, refreshing beer. So if you're in Ohio, or you can get Great Lakes beers in general, seek that one out, especially here in the early part of fall into mid-fall, because that is a beautiful seasonal beer. In the top right-hand corner, I'll post a link to the review if you want to check it out, but I'm not going to review that one just because I already reviewed it this year. So this will be the last beer I review from the box. That I saved the best for last? I have no idea, but I'm super stoked for many reasons. First and foremost, it's a Kölsch. You don't see a lot of Kölsches out there. Kölsches are, you know, they use ale yeast, but they lager them basically. So they use ale yeast and they ferment them at lager-esque temperatures. So you get that like clean, crisp kind of nature to it, even though it's not technically a lager. In addition to that, this is a beer that is only available in Ohio, I'm pretty sure. At the very least, is not available in New York State. They actually mentioned that in that letter. They're like, you do not see it in New York State. And the reason for that is the third big reason that I'm, kind of stoked for this beer is that is paying homage, and it's also in collaboration with somebody who is my namesake, and that is Joe Thomas, who is the Hall of Fame offensive tackle of the Cleveland Browns. Pretty sure he played his entire career with the Cleveland Browns of the NFL. And he had an Ironman streak. I want to say it was like 167 consecutive games, which is wild when we're talking about football, especially for an offensive tackle. And he was one of the best to do it, period. So they do have a little spiel here on the side that says, we huddled with Cleveland's Ironman himself to brew this crisp, refreshing, tailgate-worthy ale. So yeah, this is, for tailgating for Browns games and whatnot. And like I said, my namesake, Joe Thomas, I thought this was awesome. They included it. So thank you very much, Great Lakes and Lily. This is pretty cool. I love reviewing Kölsches. I really dig Kölsches. You just don't see a lot of them packaged as much anymore. So we're going to crack this open and get it into the glass. Now, speaking of football, as I pour this, I'll mention that I am reviewing this the day after the Browns traded Joe Flacco to the Cincinnati Bengals. So we'll see how that works out for them. Dylan Gabriel is now going to be the starter for the rest of the year for the Browns. I'm wearing my Seahawks gear because I'm a Seahawks fan, but I've mentioned this before in other Great Lakes reviews and also reviews here in the West New York area. There are three fan bases that I always root for the teams, and that is the Buffalo Bills, because I'm here in Buffalo, New York, the Cleveland Browns, and the Detroit Lions. All the Lake Erie teams, I want to see them win a championship at some point. The fans deserve them. There's so many just horrible memories, but I guess great memories for some folks, especially, the Bills losing 4 straight Super Bowls. But like, none of these teams have been relevant for many years, and a lot of them have just been really bad for many years. So whenever the Browns are good, or the Lions or the Bills, I'm always rooting for them. You probably don't care. You probably don't even watch football. But if you do, that's what I'm saying. So on the side here it says a Kölsch-style ale. Yeah, this is typically an ale. I just said it was Kölsch-style beer. So yeah, that looks awesome in the glass. This has very vibrant carbonation, I would say. I poured it out, and the head is still sitting there. So we have this beautiful, kind of like golden orange color. That's kind of how it looks in person for me. Actually, it just looks like that in person. So yeah, good clarity. You can see my hand through the back of the glass. Has almost 3 fingers of this beautifully creamy, slight soap sudsy kind of look to it as far as the head goes. It's like off-white, bone white, but it looks absolutely beautiful. And it already has lacing, even though I haven't taken a sip yet, which I think is pretty awesome as well. So yeah, beautiful looking beer. Let's get a nose. Yeah, I mean, it's a Kölsch. So Kölsches are very akin to just a lot of lagers, simple lagers. I always picture too, little, maybe not as biscuity as like a blonde ale, but kind of in that realm. So has this nice bready kind of like biscuity nose, but more bready than anything from the malt. There is a beautiful orchard fruit, more of like a pear, a little bit of red apple, probably the yeast esters. Touch of like a cherry too. And then it has this nice floral, like herbaceous kind of nose from the hops. It smells very bright. Shout out to Joe over at Joe's Arcade who said, this smells bright. And he always says, I don't know what that means, but it smells bright. And what that means is this smells like it's just going to have this like beautiful to me, like crisp, refreshing nature to it when you take a sip. Yeah, I mean, it's really nice. A little bit of citrus, like a citrus peel, like an orange or maybe even like a lemon peel. Very simplistic. And what they're brewing this for, again, tailgate worthy. They're saying, hey, if you go to a Browns game at home, bring a 12-pack of this because they sell them in 12 packs or maybe a bunch of 12 packs and just enjoy yourself. 5.7%, so sessionable to some degree. And yeah, it smells good. It has a really nice, I feel like that orchard fruit is kind of coming to the forefront and it's a little bit more like the yeast ester is kind of like here. Maybe even like a little bit of spiciness from the phenols as well. It smells really nice. Let's get into it. Cheers, everybody. Thanks again to Great Lakes and Lily. This was an awesome box, and you probably won't see this review to the end of October, maybe to like early mid-November, which is why I'm mentioning it when I'm reviewing it and the Flacco trade and everything. So by the time you see this one, maybe the Browns have ripped off like 4 or 5 straight wins. Maybe they haven't. I have no idea, but cheers. You know those beers that I say on the channel aren't for contemplating, they're for drinking? This is the perfect example of that. It's a well-made, well-crafted, lighter beer. Even at 5.7%, it drinks a little bit lighter than that. But you could crush these and not even think twice. It's not like over the top with flavor. It's just an easygoing, sessionable beer. Body's nice. It's like lower side of medium, approaching medium, so it's not super thin and watery, but it's also not too big, so you can actually drink quite a few of them. The mouthfeel, it's crisp, although it's a little bit softer than anticipated. I was thinking like moderately to high side of moderate carbonation. This is more smack dab in the like right moderate carbonation, so a little bit softer than I anticipated, but not like super soft. Super clean beer for sure, very refreshing, dare I say crushable. The body and mouthfeel are kind of what I expected this beer to be. And the taste is very easy. Forefront, bready malt, maybe even a little bit like crackery, kind of like an unsalted saltine cracker. That dives underneath the palate, hits again on the back end, never steps in the way, but is the first thing I noticed. Right after that, get a little bit of that kind of like orange peel or like lemon peel. It's more of like a dried orange peel and then just a straight on like lemon peel or lemon zest. And then that orchard fruit hits, and to me, it's white pear. It's a little bit of like red apple core, a touch of like also like just this cherry, like a slight cherry essence. And I don't remember that too much in Kölsch. I don't know if that's stylistically correct, but it's kind of cool. And then halfway to midway, or I should say halfway to 3/4 of the way through the palate, the hops kick in. It's floral, it's herbaceous, has a little bit of grassiness to it. This finishes firmly dry, almost approaching bone dry with a very mild bitterness. So it has a good balance because the malt character isn't too over the top and sweet at the forefront, but it is sweet. And then in the finish, it really dries out beautiful. It's a beautiful dry finish where kind of right now, I want to say my tongue is devoid of any saliva, but it's kind of getting there where like the back end of the tongue is very dry and it's just almost like I've used this before, but like a cat's tongue. It's almost like sandpaper. 5.7%, you can't tell? Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm always honest with my reviews, and I say that so often that people be like, well, are you though? Maybe you have to say that so much, but I always want to let you guys know that I always call a spade in these reviews with these beers and what I truly think about them. Am I ever going to go out of my, let's say they sold this in New York State, would I go out of my way to buy this, even occasionally? Probably not, and that's an honest take, right? I probably wouldn't buy this all that often, but if I was in Ohio and I was a Cleveland Browns fan and I wanted a beer to bring to a tailgate that is local, like Great Lakes, this would be the beer to bring. I think you could really win over almost anybody, even just your macro lager drinkers with this one. It's a good gateway kind of beer. And I think that's kind of why I went with this style. Like, this is approachable from different aspects and from different people and different palates, that I think that's kind of what this beer is about. It's not my favorite beer of all time or anything from Great Lakes, but it's also a well done, well executed, and well brewed beer. Plain and simple. I'm going to give it 2 ratings. I'll say Kölsch. I'll give it a Kölsch-style rating. Then I'll give my own personal rating. So 73 Kölsch. Oh, by the way, the 73 is for Joe Thomas's number there. As you can see on, they have a picture of him on the can. So that is his number. So that's why it's called 73 Kölsch. But stylistically, like, we don't see a lot of Kölsches here. I've had a couple, like the authentic German ones. I'm going to say this is pretty good. So stylistically, I'm going to give this beer I'll give it like a high 4 out of 5. I'll go like 4.1, maybe a low 4.25, 4.15. Personal rating, I'm going to go high 3.75. I'll go 3.85. I think this is a well-brewed, as I said, well-executed and well-made Kölsch. It's not going to, blow your socks off, blow your doors off, but at the same time, I think most people would respect this beer as a whole. So, nice beer from Great Lakes, and definitely fits the vibe. I mean, as far as like collabing with a former NFL player, being a Cleveland beer, wanting people to enjoy this one at tailgates and whatnot, perfect beer for that, hands down. Price point, I did look this up because, again, we don't get it here in New York State. At Giant Eagle, one of the grocery stores in and around the Cleveland area, they only sell in 12 packs, I believe, and I think on draft, but I think it's just 12 packs. It was $18.99 a 12 pack. So if you could get it somewhere between $18 and $20 a 12 pack, that's $1.50 or less a can, almost 6%, nice beer. Yeah, that's a great price point. I don't think it gets outside of Ohio, so if you do see this outside of Ohio, let me know where you saw it and if you bought it and whatnot. But again, a nice low ABV, easygoing, easy drinking beer that I have no issues with. And like I said, I already said the price point availability. So once again, huge thanks to Great Lakes for the box. It was cool as hell. I have finished all the beers. That was the last beer from the box, and I'm super stoked. I'm still going to be drinking myself some Great Lakes beers that I pick up. I know they have a mocha version of their barrel-aged blackout stout that I hopefully will be able to get my hands on. Outside of that, might re-review Christmas Ale this year. We'll see. I don't know. We'll figure it out, but once again, huge thanks to Great Lakes. Thanks to Lily. If you've had this one before, please post in the comment section and let me know what you thought about it. Appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. Like I said, 5.7%. You can't tell. No ring of chest, nothing on the palate. Hides extremely well. Very crisp, super clean beer. Very well balanced. Just nice. This is just a nice beer. But to me, this is just a nice beer, right? This is like a better version of a macro lager, or even a craft lager. Like, it has a little bit more flavor. It's a little bit different because it is a Kölsch, but it's not, anything that I'm screaming from the rooftops about. But at the same time, if I was a Cleveland Browns fan, I'd be drinking probably a lot of this. Let's be honest. Till the next one. Cheers.